Hi there, Kelsey here. I'm here to talk about our case study part two, which is off of part one. So, just a little bit of background reminder on my case study part one. I had a family of four, a mother and a stepfather, and their oldest daughter was living with them, um, and her daughter, so their granddaughter. The daughter had just gotten divorced recently, and so they moved back in, and the the plans that we talk about kind of go off of the goals that they want for their daughter and for themselves. So let's get started. Monthly budget plan. So the goal for the monthly budget plan, as you can see, this is one of my three options that I picked for advice to this family. And the goal, first off, would be to pay off debt for the mother and stepfather and help their daughter buy a home. And I believe that this was also goals for the daughter as well, to pay off her own debt and help herself buy a home. The values that they had were to create a monthly budget plan compatible with the goals. So their values were that they just principles and behavior and honesty that they wanted to use to get to this. So they didn't want to cheat the system. They didn't want to have to steal money or borrow money. They wanted to be able to do this the right way with their values, work hard for what they were getting. So I have this resource here, and what it is basically it's a teaching activity from the IJBPE, which is the International Journal of Birth and Parent Education. And if the link doesn't work for some reason, I have a picture of what it is on the next slide. And it's basically a budgeting sheet. It talks about quick fixes on saving money, has a printable budget plan, and kind of goes into the whole process of it. So we kind of use this as the backbone for them. So I printed this article, this resource for them. They were able to look at it, read over it, get some ideas, and kind of create a budget plan off of that. We actually found a different budget plan online that they liked better that fit for their needs, and we used that. So that kind of goes into the planning and implementing. So as I had put in the PowerPoint, we use a document to help with the planning process and figure out what worked for them and what didn't in that what the article said. And then finally, feedback. So uh, every Sunday, the family would sit down, go over the budget, talk about did they stay in their budget for that week, what they can do differently next week, what came up that wasn't expected, was there extra money here or there? Because sometimes what we budget for doesn't always come out the way it's supposed to. So we can budget to only spend $30 eating out this week, but then we spend less or we spend more, and so we have to make that adjustment. So here is the article, the teaching activity that I printed for them to go over and read and use as just kind of a backbone. And as you can see, it just talks about, you know, what a budget sheet is, some quick fixes, things like that. And then added to that was the actual budgeting, printable budget plan. But they didn't really like that one. It was a good guideline, but the one they preferred to use is on the next slide. So this is the one they preferred to use. I don't have one of theirs that they actually written out, but this was the one that they had decided on to use. And they liked how it looked. It was pretty. It was easy. They could put in all their bills when they were due, all their goals. So, for example, their goal for saving to help buy their daughter a house and pay off debt. And debts in there as well. So they really liked this one just so they could see all their things at once, and it helped them have a better idea when they were going back each week and looking at it. So I really like this budget worksheet too. I might start using it myself. All right, so the next uh, development of advice that I did with this family was the chore chart sharing. So this is just basically developing a plan for them to make sure the house is staying clean and organized and not getting out of hand. So as you can see, the problem at hand was with two extra people in the house. It was getting dirtier quicker. There wasn't enough help. There was arguments being caused because so and so wasn't help cleaning, and all she was doing was this, or the mom felt like she was doing overworking while also working. So basically, we needed to come up with a plan. So based off their values, we went over what they expected from each other. Um, what would be too much, what was just enough, with everyone's work schedule and decided on, this plan. So what I have here in resources is I have this article called Good Habits Start Young. And what I did is I had them read this because the youngest child in the house was 4. And this was something that my mom did with me. And so I just thought it was a good read just to see. It's basically just how to teach kids to work for money and learn about life and do chores to earn money and privileges to do things. And it's just also helping them around the house. But on top of that, we also created a chore sheet that worked for them, and it was an interchangeable one, which I'll show on the next slide. So they were able to change the chores each week as they needed the adjustment. So after reading the article and sitting down, we printed out this chore chart and filled it in, basically. So the feedback they got off of this was every week they would go over it and adjust for the next week, as I said, because it was an easy printable. So let's go ahead and look at that. So they could adjust each week what they wanted to change as far as the chores being done that week and then rotate it through. So this is actually one of their chore charts. It was for the week of 325 to 331, and I just took a copy of it. And as you can see, they written in what they wanted done that week, and then because there were so many people in the house, they just initialed off what was done, so things weren't getting done twice, and then something else wasn't getting done at all. And if something wasn't done that day, they would just put a line through it, as you can see. So sometimes there wasn't stuff done, like on Fridays, as you can see, a lot of stuff wasn't done on Fridays because they were probably out to dinner or enjoying things or shopping or whatever, because Fridays are days to relax. But on Sunday, you could see that that was the day that most, more than anything, got done. And that probably has to do with because Sundays are people's day to relax. So that's just an example of their chore chart that we worked out for them, to make sure that all family members were putting in the equal amount of work that they were expected to put in and working together, and that caused less arguments and less fighting. All right, so the next slide is focusing more so on the daughter and her child, so the daughter and the granddaughter. Because the daughter was divorcing, it can cause a lot of problems with the family and the granddaughter, more importantly. And she was acting out at school, she was crying every night, and there's just a lot of problems going on. And so we needed to figure out how to fix this based off to make the child happy, to have her not feel this pressure of the parents' divorce, and just make it easier for her because she is only 4. So what I have in this resource here is a journal, and it's called the Children's First Program. It's a parent education journal, and it talks about this program that they have, and it goes through all the steps and talks about what it is and what its different methods are and what the results should be and things like that. So I actually printed this for the daughter for her to read and go over, and we actually went online and found a program similar to this article that was in her area for her to utilize and help her with this process. And she's been doing it for a couple weeks now, and she said it's really helped and it's turned the daughter's attitude around, and it's made a huge difference in her parenting style and how she's approaching the situation as well. So I thought that was really neat. And what I also learned from her is that when she's going to these weekly programs, that she's utilizing the program as much as she can, and if something's not working, she's still able to make adjustment because she's able to get feedback from the program and learn from her mistakes or what's not working and what is. So I thought that was pretty cool too. So those are my references for the journals and articles and stuff like that. It was really fun working with this family, and I think that we were able to do a lot of things that helped them as far as reaching some of their goals and helping keep the house a little more in order as far as cleaning and attitudes and tensions go with all these busy schedules and more people in the house that they're not used to. So I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did, and that's it for now.